today we're returning to a familiar section of the fly fishing library here on Casting Across. Now this takes up a lot of room on my bookshelf, and I know that it's the same for a lot of other angling readers, and this is remarkable because the region it represents is relatively small. Still, it played a significant role in the development of so many aspects of fly fishing in the 20th century. So if you are interested in this part of the country or in the history of fly fishing, then check out what I have to say about this book today on Casting Across. Hi, I'm Matthew of castingacross.com, where I explore the quarry and culture of fly fishing. In a previous video, which you can find wherever you find such things, I mentioned that This Wonderful World of Trout by Charles Fox is one of my favorite fly fishing books of all time. Fox, along with Vincent Marinero, were the two prominent figures in Pennsylvania's Cumberland Valley fly fishing scene in the middle of the 20th century. But today we're talking about one of Fox's other prominent works, which is Rising Trout. This came out in 1967, but this is the 1978 second edition. I don't own the first edition for either of these books, but if you do and you don't read them anymore, then you can certainly let me know about that. But the second edition is worth owning because it is expanded significantly, 6 or 7 new chapters. And the reason for that is that Rising Trout is a collection of Fox's works that appeared in other sources, periodicals like Fly Fisherman and Sports Afield, along with everyone's favorite fly fishing magazine, Esquire. But it's a great read, great diversity of topics, incredibly interesting, and it features a lot of photography from Bernard Lefty Cray. This is a picture that probably isn't coming through super great, but it's of Marinero, Fox, and another gent named Russ Trimmer, taken by Mr. Cray when he was a relatively young whippersnapper compared to these gents. But again, there's a diverse range of articles. There's articles that talk about fly fishing technique. There's articles that talk about trout themselves. There's articles that talk about the science as they were beginning to understand the intricacies of fishing for these amazing fish. And there's articles about conservation. I don't see this as outdated. I see this as the source material, the original work from when the foundational movements were being made in the development of fly fishing as we know it now in the 21st century. Some of my favorite chapters in this book, there's one on how fish see, which clears up a lot of misconceptions, which a lot of people have about the way that we approach water, the colors we wear, things like that. There's an article about bizarre materials like cork and dyed yarn being used for tying flies, which are very, very common today, but of course were novel back then. And then there's an article about how spinning rods are actually valuable tools for when a fly rod just isn't going to work. And he actually makes the argument that you can cast a fly line with a spinning rod, but it's very, very hard to cast a lure with a fly rod. But there's also some other timely information in here that is very, very valuable for us today. So as this video is being recorded, Cumberland County, Pennsylvania's Big Spring Creek is once again under threat from development. It's been under threat from development and harmed by development for a few hundred years. First, it was agricultural, then it was the installation of mills, and then it was a hatchery put in the headwaters. Now it is, they are seeking to put in a bunch of other developments around the headwaters of this incredibly historically important as well as fragile spring creek. If you know anything about spring creeks, they're very, very hardy when they are flowing, but because of the nature of the aquifers and their environment, any alterations can really, really be very hazardous for these streams. And what we see in here is a record of kind of where that stream was prior to the 1960s and then what was happening in the 60s and 70s. It was historically one of the most prominent brook trout fisheries in the East Coast. It was like the last bastion of big brook trout in Pennsylvania. Then it became a brown trout fishery, and big 10, 12, 15-pound brown trout were being caught in the Big Spring Creek. Recently, it has gone through some hard times, but it's actually in many ways rebounding, and that's why attention being paid to the mistakes and the remediations that have happened in history are worth paying attention to. And you get that here in this book. He actually has a whole chapter called The Commonwealth's Gem about Big Spring Creek. So this is a book that is definitely worth having on your bookshelf. Is there another Cumberland County book that you think I should talk about or that you love? Let me know in the comments below. Then head over to castingacross.com for 3 posts a week on the people, place, and things that go into the pursuit of fish.